here's the big question. You're interested in value investing and valuing and evaluating businesses on a deep level, but you don't know how, even after researching for hours, probably dozens of hours, hundreds of hours on the internet, and because nobody else shows you how to do it. This podcast has all those answers and much more about value investing and finance. My name is Jason Rivera. Welcome to Value Investing in Your Car. Hey, Jason here. In this episode of Value Investing in Your Car, I'm going to do a book review of what was pretty much actually a surprisingly good book, The Art of Asking, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Let People Help, I believe is what the title is, by Amanda Palmer. First off, I want to preface this book review. If I had never heard of Amanda Palmer before this, the reason I read this book is I believe it was a recommendation from Tim Ferriss in his book Tools of Titans, on a fantastic book on kind of getting out of your comfort zone, stuff like that. If I remember correctly, that's kind of what he recommended this book for, is getting out of your comfort zone, asking, it's in the whole worldly wisdom, mental models, kind of makeup that I'm a big believer in. I've now, after listening to this book and doing some of my own research on Amanda Palmer, I mean, I don't really know what to say about her personally. I don't know her personally other than listening to this book and some of the research I've found online. But if you do have an opinion of her, I just want to stick straight to the book on this, because the book is actually pretty fantastic. It essentially boils down to asking for help. And her kind of, I don't know if life philosophy is the right word, but a big part of her life is asking people, her fans, her followers, for help when she needs it, in terms of a place to stay, on a couch surfing when she's touring the world, in terms of editing her book, in terms of editing her TED Talk, in terms of pretty much everything, asking for help on pretty much anything. And she goes kind of in through her own struggles and asking. The reason I was kind of initially interested in this book was because I hate asking for help, in most cases, unless it's something like, can you help me build this? Can you help me do yard work? Can you help me move this thing? I mean, other than that, I really don't like asking for help. I like doing things myself. So asking for help when I need help is very, very, very hard for me. Very, very, very difficult. So I went in this book with an open mind, and while I don't agree with, frankly, a lot that's in this book, her hippie lifestyle, her absolute trust in humanity and her fans, I don't agree with either of those, especially the trust thing. I mean, I trust people unless they give me reason not to trust them. But she takes it to an extreme, going naked in front of her fans and then being sexually assaulted, staying at people's houses she's never met other than through her Twitter fans on Twitter. I mean, that, to me, that's just asking for trouble at some point. So there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with in this book, but as a kind of a philosophical look at things, it's actually very interesting. I would not necessarily compare it to Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance in terms of actual kind of philosophical books and their impacts, but the philosophy she expounds on trust and asking and all those kind of things is actually very fascinating. The reason I like this book so much is, frankly, it made me think, made me expand my kind of thought processes a little bit and look at things from a different perspective, which for me personally, since I read all the time, is pretty rare, honestly, for a book to actually kind of expand my thought processes, expand my outlook on things. So from just that pure perspective, it was fascinating. Again, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff in the book, how she empathized with the terrorists or the terrorist family after the bombing in Boston, the hippie lifestyle, the trust to an extreme degree. What else? There was another one. Her kind of collectivist kind of attitude about things. I don't agree with a lot of that stuff, but again, from a pure philosophical standpoint and expanding your thoughts and expanding kind of her life philosophy on asking and trusting, it's fascinating. Am I going to use a lot of this stuff in the book that she talked about? Frankly, no, because I'm just not built like that. I don't trust people implicitly that I've never met, especially not to stay at their houses or go naked from them and get sexually assaulted and still do that kind of stuff. A lot of this stuff is crazy out there, especially I know if you're anything like me, and I know a lot of you are because I've talked with quite a few of you in the value investing community, that most of us are typically not necessarily conservative in like political standings, but conservative kind of trust wise. We're more reserved, we're more analytical, we're not just kind of artsy and let it flow and everything will work out. We're more analytical, we're more realistic, even when we're optimistic. So I know a lot of you probably won't enjoy this book, but I, again, just from a philosophical kind of standpoint, it's fascinating. Again, am I going to do everything she talks about in her book? No, of course not, because again, I'm not built like that. I would frankly be terrified to do half the stuff she talked about because, again, I'm not built like that. That just is frankly kind of nuts to me, a lot of the stuff she talks about in the book. Sorry, I got a call here to finish up the book review of The Art of Asking. Anyways, where I left off was I was kind of getting ready to tell you whether I recommend it. I do, but I be warned, again, a lot of the stuff is very out there. But if you have an open mind and you're willing to kind of expand your thought processes and your life philosophies to a smaller extent, I highly recommend it. If you're turned off by some of the stuff I mentioned before, this might not be the book for you. Depends on how open-minded you are. But again, I enjoyed it. Not necessarily, again, I'm not going to do a lot of the stuff she recommends talking about in the book and implicitly trusting people to an extreme level, stuff like that. But again, any book that kind of expands my thought process, I enjoy. So I figured I'd let you know about this book if you are interested in that kind of thing. If not, I'm completely fine with that again. But if you like this, make sure to like us below, share it, comment below on your thoughts if you read this book. Again, I don't necessarily want to talk about Amanda Palmer because I read it. She gets a ton of hate, so I'm sure a lot of you have feelings about her. I don't necessarily want to get into that because that's not my thing. And if you want to watch other Value Investing in Your Car episodes, look to the right or left, depending on what you're watching on, and you can watch the other videos on there. Again, we talk about mental models. I do other book reviews. I answer questions about value investing and finance. A lot of what obviously I'm biased, but important value investing and finance and life topics that can help you as a business owner, entrepreneur, value investor, person. So I hope you check out our Value Investing in Your Car episodes and our other playlists. We have value investing, education, finance, other things as well that we talk about, value investing case studies, all that kind of stuff. So make sure to check out our other playlists, and I hope you enjoyed this book review of The Art of Asking. I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.